In this lesson, I'll show you how to integrate a Raspberry Pi computer with the Windows File Explorer so that you'll be able to easily browse around your Raspberry Pi directories from your desktop PC and move files to and from the Raspberry Pi. This is useful in all sorts of circumstances. For me, as I'm currently developing a series of tutorials on cross-platform programming with Lazarus, this makes it really easy to copy my projects between my PC and a Raspberry Pi. Now, I'm assuming that you've already set up the Windows Remote Desktop to let you work with the Raspberry Pi on Windows. If you haven't done that, go to my last lesson in which I show you exactly how to do it. And now, in this lesson, let's see how we can get even more seamless integration with the file manager. So here I am. This is the Raspberry Pi desktop. Now I'm running this on my local PC, as I explained in the previous lesson, by running the remote desktop software on Windows. This is Windows 11. So even though I'm running a Windows computer, I'm seeing the Raspberry Pi desktop. So what I need to do now is I need to open a terminal and enter the following: sudo apt space install Samba, and press enter, and off it goes. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this once it's finished. Okay, so that took a little while to get through that installation. So now I'm moving on to the next part, and I want to edit the smb.conf configuration file. In my terminal window here, I enter this command, sudo nano, which is the name of the text editor. Now, if you're sufficiently familiar with your Raspberry Pi operating system, you might edit a text file in a different way, but this is what I'm going to be doing from the terminal, and I'm doing it in this folder, etc samba/smbd.conf, and up pops this editor. So this is the file I want to edit. I'm going down to the bottom. It's a very simple text editor, so I just scroll all the way down. I'll press Control End, and now I'm ready to enter something new. So I enter the name of the user. By default, that's Pi in square brackets. And now I'm going to enter a few more entries. Let me pause this and come back to you so that you can see what I've done. So these are the entries that I've written. The path is /home/pi. That's the default path if you've accepted Pi as the default username. Browsable and writeable I set to yes, and then these masks, create space mask and directory space mask, with the value 0777. That just sets some permissions to allow me to read and write files and directories. Now save that. As I can see down here, the command to write out is Control O. Hold down the Control key and press O, and it'll prompt me for the file, and there it goes. Now let me add a password back in the terminal, and that is sudo space smbpasswd -a space, and then my username is Pi, and my new password, well, I just write my default password in here. And it prompts me again. Doesn't show it happening on screen, but all being well, that has now been set. And now back in Windows, I want to map my Raspberry Pi disk into the as a network drive on Windows. To do that, I am going to open a command prompt. So from the start menu, enter cmd, and actually I've already got a command prompt. I've started entering the command I need just for the sake of brevity. So this is the command in a Windows command prompt. Net space use, then the letter of the drive that you want to map, that you want to represent your Raspberry Pi drive. So I'm choosing Z, space, then the IP address of your Raspberry Pi, and I showed previously how to get that from the Raspberry Pi info. The directory, that's /pi, that's my username, remember. Then I put another space, /user : pi, again the username, space, type in your password, whatever that is. And finally, if you want this to be retained, this connection to be retained when you reboot your PC, which presumably you will, you also need to add this extra parameter at the end, /persistent : yes. Press enter, and when the command has completed successfully, you should now be able to go into Windows Explorer, and there you can see is my Raspberry Pi. So I can browse the Raspberry Pi on the from my Windows 11 desktop. So if I show now the Windows File Explorer, that's this foreground window, and you compare it with the equivalent on the Raspberry Pi desktop, you can see that the Windows File Explorer shows me the directories under my home directory under home Pi, and here's a directory I created, Hue, and you can see that's also on the File Explorer and the bookshelf. So it's mapped on the directory structure under this directory in the Raspberry Pi disk, and I can now browse it on Windows. In fact, I can go even one step further towards better integration with Windows by putting the Raspberry Pi into the network neighborhood on Windows. Now to do that, there's another step. I have to go back into the terminal on the Raspberry Pi and enter this command, sudo space apt install space install, and then I want to install the web service discovery, and that is wsdd. Enter, and off it goes. And now that's finished, I need to start it up. So back on the Raspberry Pi in the terminal, another command to enter, sudo space service wsdd space start, enter. And all being well, that should now have done the business for me. Let me have a look. So this PC, let's have a look, network, and there's my Raspberry Pi on the network. So it's now on the network neighborhood, and I can browse it just as I would, as long as I enter my network credentials. Just as I would a normal PC. So there you go. Thanks for watching. If you found this lesson useful, give it a thumbs up, and be sure never to miss any new lessons by subscribing and clicking the bell, and I'll see you again soon.